Hi guys, welcome to my kitchen. I'm making Malva pudding. It's a really quick recipe that I'm using because it's something that I just want to crank out really quickly. I don't want to be in here for too long. So let's get started with it. So I'm basically, I've put out all the ingredients. I've set everything out I've measured it out correctly, and basically all I'm doing is just putting it together. Excuse me, I need to get my egg. So when I started thinking about Malva, I didn't have an egg, so I had to go and forage for an egg, and I found it. I was actually about to make a recipe with a substitute for an egg. Now I really couldn't decide between yogurt and peanut butter. So I went looking for an egg. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take the milk and put a cup of milk in a container, and then I'm going to take some white vinegar. I'm going to put that in the milk. So what I'm doing there is I'm making my own buttermilk. I'm just going to put that in there and then put it aside. And then I'm going to take a container or a mixing bowl, and I'm going to put in some jam. I'm going to put in 2 spoons of butter. No, just 2, not 3. Come back. I'm going to put my egg in. If you have eggs that aren't in the fridge, they're much easier to use when you're baking, and they help you to actually be more exact in terms of the quantity of egg. So just some vanilla essence. And then I'm going to put in some sugar. So this is partly my wet mix. The only thing missing is the milk, right? Or the buttermilk situation that we've got going. So I'm just going to try and mix it all in. As you did notice, I didn't really melt my butter. It's only 2 spoons of butter. It's not that much, so I'm not really worried about it too much. And in terms of the jam, the recipe normally calls for apricot jam, but I had about a spoon of strawberry jam and about half a spoon of fig jam. So that's what I'm using. Okay, so I'm going to mix that up, and once that is completely mixed up, I'm going to take the milk. Now I want you to have a look. If you can see here, it actually gets quite gloopy, because remember we did put the vinegar in the milk, and that actually starts like a process that starts to curdle the milk, making it buttermilk. So when your milk is getting gloopy, that is the sign of success. Okay, so that's the wet mix. I'm going to put it on the side. So over here we've got our cup of flour. We're looking for another whisk. So what I've done is I've sifted the cup of flour in there, and then over here I've got some baking soda as well as baking powder. No, it's a risky move, but it works. You know, the baking soda helps to activate the bubbliness. So it sort of turns the Malva more into a pudding than just a cake. So that's why we've got the baking soda in there. But the amount of baking soda that you put in is very important because that can normally ruin your bakes. And then the baking powder is going to give us the nice volume. So it is, the flour was sifted. I've just mixed that in there. Use the clean whisk. And now I'm going to add the wet ingredients. I've got a big lump of fig jam. Everything else seems to be okay. Try and find a spot for this. And then I'm going to put it together. Now, the reason why I had to go foraging for an egg and why I couldn't just use a substitute is because if I had put in, if I had substituted and used yogurt in place of the egg, which you can do, I think I would have a more cakey consistency and I didn't want that. The other thing I could do is I could use bananas, but that would mean that you would have a very prominent banana taste. I didn't want that either. And the other substitute would be peanut butter, and then you'd have a very defined peanut taste. So I didn't want that. I really literally just wanted a Malva pudding that I can serve up with some custard, if I can find that or if I can make that, and that would be very nice. So what I've got here is I've got a pie pan. And the reason I'm using a pie pan is because of the size. As you can see, the mix is very small. I needed a very small pan, and that's why I'm using this. If you've got a 20 centimeter square pan, that will be 100%. I have one somewhere. I'm not going to be looking for it, and that's why I'm using this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some cook and bake. Then I'm going to spray it. Good measure. And then I'm going to hold my breath, because if I don't do that, I'm going to die. So I'm going to pour all of this out into there. Actually, I should probably be standing this side so you can see if you want to. There, I told you, die. Hold your breath or die. Okay, there we go. So this is basically what I'm going to be putting in the oven. So I have been preheating my oven at 180 degrees and it's fully preheated. So I'm going to be popping this in for 30 minutes into the oven. As a rule of thumb, it's 30 minutes, but when you get to the 30 minutes, just try and use the toothpick to make sure that everything is kosher, that it's fully cooked. But the thing is, with Malva pudding, it's not cake, so it's not going to harden, or it shouldn't harden as much, and it shouldn't be as stiff. So we're actually going to fix that once the cake or the Malva is ready. So I'm going to put this in, and then I'm going to very quickly show you how to make the sauce. Okay, so I'm looking for something. What am I looking for? Let's see. So the sauce that you're going to put on top of the Malva, you're actually going to put it on as soon as your Malva comes out of the oven and is still quite hot. But the sauce also will still be a little bit warm at the time, because what we actually do is we use the remaining milk as well as the remaining 3 spoons of butter. Use about 2 spoons of sugar. And then a capful of some vanilla essence. Obviously that's decided by the size of your bottle. And then basically this mixture you are then going to put on the stove to just let the milk come to a boil and the butter to melt and the sugar to melt in together. Just whisk it a few times or mix it in a few times, once or twice, and then just put it aside and wait for the malva to come out of the oven. And then when we come back, I'll put the sauce on the malva and then I'll serve it. Ciao. So the 30 minutes is over, and basically if you do the toothpick test, right, if you put it through and the toothpick comes out and there's really nothing on there, that means that the malva is ready. So the next step is we're going to be putting on the sauce that we've made. Let me get that. So I'm just going to be putting on, okay, first I put the sauce on. It's still quite hot, as you can see. And because of the shape of my pan, my malva has made a little bit of a well. Not really worried about that. But basically this sauce takes the malva from a cake to an absolutely decadent pudding. And because the because the pudding is still hot, when you put in the sauce, it actually just seeps it in. If you have a look, you'll see how quickly it's actually taking in the sauce. So the yellow hue that you see in the sauce, remember, comes from the butter that we put in. And as you can see, that's really how quickly it sucks it in. And it's going to make it nice and soft and moist. But what I normally do is I normally serve my malva with custard. I did go scratching around and I did find some custard. So I'm going to dish it out for you so you can see what it looks like. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a round glass object type situation thingy. My wedding. Okay, I've got a glass. So I'm going to take a glass and that's going to help me to get a pretty shape out of it. Don't worry, it's really not a requirement. You can get away with just cutting it the normal old way. But I just want a nice round piece for myself. And then I'm going to put in a little bit of custard. You can put more if you want. If you have, I'll go first for some more. But this is basically what I'm into. Let's grab a teaspoon. So basically this is it. This is my Malva pudding. And I've put a little bit of custard to serve it with. And that's how quickly it is to put together. Thank you very much for watching the video. Remember to like, to comment, and to share. And see you again next time. Bye-bye. Mm-hmm.